Welcome back, guys. It's part three. Uh,
Attention,
this is the
security. You got an
X3, the Star
804
Wars
on
Reborn
level 4
mod
in the
for
generator
X3
room.
Albion Prelude. And when I left you, I was really just kind of get started, did a lot of talking, and sorry about that. But it is an in-depth game, and I do want uh, people who never really played the X3 games kind of learn a little bit about what's going on, so they understand what they're watching. But so those vets of X3, definitely thanks for bearing with me. Right now, I have been playing for a few hours though trying to get some of that just the beginning grind out of the way, so you just don't see me on spreadsheets and just flying. Even though flying itself is nice with the graphics, the way things look, it's pretty cool. Uh, But I'll show you. There's a ship right there. It's a F-19. Actually, is that mine? That may be mine. Um, so to let you know what I've been up to, first of all, I lost one of the V-19s in its travels. It was traveling to this station right here. Um, I'm in Ronkar's Might, uh, and in its travels, it just disappeared. Um, if it was blown up, it didn't put up much of a fight because there was no red warnings it was under attack. It just disappeared. So it was one shotted or it crashed. Sometimes it happens with the AI; it just crashes. Um, you'll lose property. And one thing about this game too is, as much as you um, invest as far as your time and some of the grinding part of it, uh, things are
Flight
valuable.
engineers report to
When
docking
you lose a
bay
ship, you
8
feel it,
immediately.
and it really doesn't matter if you've got 1,000 ships. It's a little easier to take losing a ship then, but still, everything takes a lot of effort and time, and so that's also part of why it's so satisfying when you do build up your empire and play this game. So it's also why you can invest a lot of time in this thing too. Uh, However, down here, where we started, uh, Void of Opportunity, that was that pirate sector. Then we kind of branched out here to the surrounding area. One thing, too, is you can Google the galaxy map for X3. You may even be able just to Google the map for this mod. I've got a copy of the map of this mod. It came in with the when I unzipped the folder. Uh, but I definitely recommend it. Some people may think, you may think it's cheating. You can explore and find out places. However, uh, especially starting out, I would recommend probably getting using that map. I've been playing this game for so long, I've got a lot of it memorized, but still, I think it's like 120 sectors, and you can't memorize them all. But anyways, so as you see, I kind of branched out. This is, as you see, this is Alliance, and this is where the corporate sector starts. The
Attention all
X3
departing pilots.
races were the
Pirates have been
Talati
seen in the
and
sector.
then
Be
the
careful.
Argon. But Army Car and Library right here and Treasure Chest, as you see the red, these are like the frontline battle sectors. Um, Now, if you go, see here, north of Treasure Chest, right up here, is the Gonar sector, which is the Jedi sector in this game. It's called Elysium of Light, and that's where you can get a jump drive. Jump drives are crucial for getting around the galaxy here. Um, but it is an investment. I believe they're 500,000 each. I can't remember. Um, but they are pricey. It's not just a few $1,000s here. Um, and anyways, so there's only two places that I know of to get those. One is right here at the Gunner or the Jedi sector called Elysium of Light. The other one, I haven't gotten there yet. It's actually, let's see here, go up here. There's like another row here, 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 here. So it's probably like around here. The only thing is, as these are pirate sectors down here, um, and one thing I try to do. Here I go talking again, but there's a lot about this. When you start sector and universal traders that are trading automatically and traveling throughout the galaxy, you can't really specifically tell them not to go to a certain sector. So
Attention! Today there is a sale in
if the
the
sector
treasure
is
shop
known, if
on
it's been
Reborn.
explored,
Don't miss the special
the
offers.
AI could possibly go there. So the only way to guarantee they won't go into like pirate sectors or xenon sectors or bad sectors is to not find it.
Say what?
That makes sense. So if it's not on the map, the AI doesn't know about it, it won't travel there. That's the only way to really guarantee it. The way it works though is once with your universal traders, once a trader gets attacked for a short time, it's kind of logged in that uh, whatever it's logged, so that all the universal traders know not to go to that sector. But it's temporary; it will time out after a while, and then they'll try it again. But those sectors where they're always xenon or always pirates, um, it's it's kind of like it's taken away from the immersion. I know, but the only way to really guarantee that they won't go there is to not find those sectors. So knowing ahead of time what sectors are under what race's control and kind of plan ahead so you don't even expose the gate. Like I did make a mistake right here at scale plate green. You see here, this line is showing that I know that there's a gate here that leads south. I haven't gone through it yet because I don't know what it is, but showing that line means I do know that there's a gate in this sector on this that goes south. If it's like this one here, enduring light, I know that there's a gate here that goes west out of this sector. I haven't been there, so I don't know what it is yet. There is like treasure chests. I know there's a sector up here, but I didn't find the northern gate in treasure chest, so there's no line up there. So that can kind of help you too. It's a little tidbit. There's a lot of little tidbits that kind of help you here and there, certain things. So anyways, getting back to where I've been, I've stayed away from the front lines where all that's going on because I haven't really upgraded my ships much. I did. Let's see here. I already had the shields and the guns. Yeah, see, I still haven't even upgraded my ship's speed or the acceleration or the steering. I didn't want to get too far ahead without recording it and showing you guys, even though, I kind of did explore. But you really kind of need a base of stuff. Part two, when I left, I talked about advanced satellites and the necessary, it's necessary to have satellites. I'll show you the why here. You see all these sectors with the green border. That means I've got eyes there somehow. Either a ship or a satellite. See, in this case, it's a satellite, and these are advanced satellites. So the field of view is bigger than what a navigational satellite would be, or a weaker ship sensor. However, it's also important to update the prices of the stations. So right now I can find out exactly how much of each item this station's got and how much it's going for it being sold or buying, depending on what it is. So I can keep up with those prices. And so everywhere I've got the green, which is all these, I've already laid down satellites. Okay. Um, and I mentioned, of course, the game being really, really in depth, and this is one of the parts of what it's really in depth. It's not just like games where, oh, I explore this sector and then it's like everything is constantly live updated, you've got all the information or whatever. No, you got the information when you're in there, and you got some sort of sensor in there. And if you want constant live update, you got to make a satellite network. And um, to keep you updated on what's going on in the sector, but also the prices and the stations, so you can trade. Otherwise, like with these that don't have the green, because I don't have one there, as you see, I've got like the shipyard, because I saw it before, so I know it's there, but I
Shipyards
have
are
no
the heart and
idea
soul of modern
of
society.
any
They
updated
are
amounts or
factories of
pricing on
gigantic
anything there.
proportions.
Same thing like Enduring Light. Here's a Quantum 2 factory. I don't know
Geofax
how much it got. I
manufacture
don't know what the
quantum
prices are
or
going for.
so-called.
So that's why having satellites is so important. Um, and it's tedious. You're just flying out there and dropping satellites. You need at least one satellite to get the market prices of all the stations in the sector. So, like this station here, it's not in the field of view, but that doesn't matter. As long as you have one thing that has sensors, either satellite or ship, and actually, as far as the game's concerned, satellites are considered a ship. Um, but as long as you have something in there that has sensors, it will give you the prices of any of these. So that, like that solar power
Solar
plant, I
power
still
plants
know
produce
the
energy. They
quantities, the
are
stock,
found
and the
everywhere in the
prices,
known universe.
because I do have a satellite in there. Um, so that's the differences between like not having a satellite and having a satellite. And so you kind of have to start off by building up your satellite network before you can really even start trading and profitably and really finding deals. Otherwise, you are manually flying or telling your ships to manually fly to sectors to check out prices in that sector. And yes, that's what I was doing at the start until I could afford satellites. Excuse me. Um, I actually sold the guns off my V-19 fighters to try to have a bigger pool of money. I started with 119,000. I sold those guns off those ships. I neutered my fighters, neutered them. And just parked them and used the money to have a bigger pool of funds to be able to transport more goods each run, each time, so I can make money faster, make more money each run, and it continues to grow that from exponentially from there. Um, and then using that money to invest into upgrading my moneymaker, uh, um, transport ship. I wanted to make sure that this sucker's upgraded. Now I did not upgrade the cargo bay because I didn't have enough money for. I was really trading food products. Another thing, another little tidbit is when you start off in a game and you start off trading uh, energy cells from solar power plants. Those are used at any manufacturing station, so those are usually easier to trade. As
Security
far
would
as
like to remind all
um,
visitors to keep
you
their
have a lot
belongings
more
with them at all
places
times.
buying that product. However, the margins, the dollar amounts, the credit amounts they're not big. Um, and so you won't really make a whole lot of money doing that. But if you don't have a lot of money starting out, that's a good option to trade those energy cells. Otherwise, what I try to do is actually start off trading either ore, silicon, or any of the food items. Now, each race has its own type of food, like the Split or the Mandalorians. They eat roster oil, and each food product kind of has a sub product as well. Um, so, like for argon, you have a cattle ranch to raise beef or cows or whatever beef, and then that station sell the cattle ranch sells the beef. You can take that beef to a Kahuna bakery, which then processes that beef into Kahuna steaks, which that's the actual food product. So every race has got its own type of food and its own like food chain um, of production. And so usually though with either the food items or because as long as you're in a sector of that race who's eating that food, you got to be careful about that too. But if you're on a border and you're crossing between um, the Talati or the corporate sector and the Mandalorians, you know, they don't eat the same thing, so you got to watch that. So you got to make sure you do know what you're doing before you do it. The worst thing is buying something and then realizing that where you thought you were going to sell it
Attention,
isn't
security.
buying it,
We got
and
a
then you
2,
got to try to
5,
find a place to
9
get rid
on
of that
level
stuff so you can
3
make
in
room
the
in your cargo
casino.
hold to trade something else. Um, so yeah. So anyways, when you start off trading, I would start off with either silicon uh, or the races one of the races food products, because usually those you have more buyers, more places that where you have the option to sell it. So if the price is really low, um, by the way, if oh shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Um, but let me just get out of the way here real quick. It's I like the economy system. Like it's simple, but it's not. It's a big part of the game. It's not too shallow. Let me put it that way. Um, and I remember at first when I first started playing this, I'm like, how do I make money? And again, this game does not lead you. You just have to kind of find out. And one of the best things is you can either look it up on the internet. Definitely, you can look that stuff up. But however, if you're just in a sector and you go, okay, so what does advanced satellite? That's pretty obvious. It makes advanced satellites, but what are they buying? So this top will tell you what product they're selling. It will tell you their stock and what the price is. And it's really simple. The more that they have, the lower the price it will be, either buying or selling. It's just supply and demand. So if they only had one advanced satellite, then this price would be higher. They've got 17 they're trying to sell, so this price is lower than what it would have been, at one. So the primary resources, so this is what they use. In some stations will have secondary resources. Now the thing is a secondary resource, if they have it, each manufacturing station has a cycle, like a production cycle, and depending on what the product is, you may produce, like on a cycle for advanced satellite, it's probably one advanced satellite per cycle. If it's energy cells, maybe 10,000 energy cells per cycle. So each one has like a cycle, and at the end of that cycle, as long as it has enough resources, it will continue to go through another cycle. Now, primary resources are there; those are always needed. Now, I don't know necessarily like how many energy cells go into one cycle. So they may need 100 energy cells, may need 5 megalit, and may need 5 silicons per cycle. As long as those are stocked, it will continue to produce whatever the product is. And this is important to know because let's say like some things like advanced satellites, say that if you're doing what I'm doing, setting up a satellite in every sector, you're talking about 120 satellites, advanced satellites you're going to need to buy. But for you to buy them, they have to be produced. And if the station, and there's not a whole lot of advanced satellite stations around the galaxy. Now, if a station doesn't have enough of a product here to start a new cycle, but either the distance between where that item is supplied from and where that station is too long for the AI to see it, or it's like too far for the AI to see it, or if there's not enough profit in the price difference. Let's say that this could be really low and out, but the silicon mine that's producing silicon is really, really low too, so the price is really, really high. It's selling really, really high. The price difference between this, what they're buying it, and what the mine's selling it for, is not worth the AI's effort. So you'll get that sometimes where you're like, I'm waiting for advanced satellites to be produced, and this place is not producing it. You have to get it jump started sometimes. That's the way you can really influence the economy. Now, let's say that it didn't have enough silicon wafers, so it's not producing advanced satellites, but the buying price and wherever silicon supplied from, it's either too far of a distance, or the margin is not too worth the AI's time. It's just going to sit there. It's not going to produce. No one's supplying the silicon. So you have to kind of do that, no matter how. If it's a product that you really want and really need produced, no matter what your profit is, or you can even lose money, if you may have to do that just to get it jump started. So once you supply enough silicon, it's a chain reaction. So then this thing's going to start producing again. Well, if it's producing again, it's also using more energy cells and magiclet, whatever that is. So it's going to be using more of those. Going to be buying more of those. So that means that the galaxy is demanding more of those. So that's how you kind of affect the economy at the whole, because now we need either more solar cells, solar power plants in the area to supply the increased demand, which that's where you can come in and build up your own factories where you see those opportunities, or maybe solar power plants around the area is really always overloaded, so the price is always really, really low, but now to increase demand, the prices is going to go up on average. So anyway, I wanted you to kind of understand that, because I've read it over the years or seen videos where people are like, I need advanced satellites, and this place is not producing them, and why, and that's what it gets kind of caught. It's just in that limbo area between supply and the price, where it's not enough to run a cycle, but it's not a big enough price yet for the AI shippers to supply it. So keep an eye on that. Secondary resources, though, you don't need those to produce the product. However, there's some sort of bonus. I can't remember if it's either faster production cycles, or it's more of the product produced per cycle. I think it's faster cycles, but it increases production somehow. But it doesn't keep the station from producing. Now, primary resources, one of those being out, will keep the station from producing. Wow. I'm already talking so much, but there's a lot to it, especially starting off, because it can be frustrating for new people, because you're not led by the hand, so you kind of have to know enough to kind of come up with your own goals and kind of reach those goals. So like I said at the end of the part 2 video, my goal was to get satellites up and going, and get our ships, specifically the transport, upgraded. And so now there's still tons. This is not even close to the amount of satellites I'll need to place, but it's a start. It's a good area, so I can at least start making highly profitable deals. If I see, I can check something that's maybe only produced here in Profit Center Alpha, and the only place that's buying it at a good price is here, and it's a big margin, so I can still see those price different, those opportunities anyway. So anyway, so I got that going. I got the our lat. Got our lat upgraded. Now, one thing I am debating right now, and the reason why I wanted to start this recording back up, even though nothing's really going on right now, is I wanted to give you an update of what's going on, what I'm doing. I don't want it to be so much time passed that you don't feel you don't see the growth in the game. But this V19 is, oh shoot, I forgot. I undocked. I'm gonna have to dock again.
Split shipyard. Docking granted. Autopilot activated.
But my V19, I'm just going to sell it. I think I want to strip it down as much as I can and sell it. It's an M5 ship. So you'll see, if you look at an ship's info, it will say right by the ID number. Every ship's got its own ID number in the game, which is the way the game keeps track of it. And you can't change that. It's generated by the program. But you'll see what type of ship it is, and it's an M5. Now, the rankings for that Eaglesoft put on the ships. Let me see and find a way to get an easy list. All right, so here we go. All right, so you got. Let me start with the fighters. Like, the numbers don't really make sense, but they kind of don't make sense because, like, X3 Reunion, that was the first X3. X3 Reunion, there was not an M8. There was not an M6. And I don't think there was an M7 either. And there was not a TM. Yeah, I don't think it was a TM in the first game either. So because the game has grown, they've added these on, but it may not seem like it still makes sense as far as the order, the numbering system.
Successfully docked.
All hail the
But
family Roncar. The split dynasty
for those who don't know,
welcomes good friends on board.
Connection to local trading network established.
For those who don't know, M1 is the
Security would like
biggest
to remind
ships.
all visitors
They're
to
the
keep their
carriers.
belongings with them at
They're
all
the
times.
you know, the command star destroyers. They're the Mon Calamari huge cruisers. They're the big big battleships, but they're carriers. Think of them more as like an aircraft carrier, because they usually have bigger hangar bay for fighters and ships, bigger hangar bay space, and less guns and shielding than the big destroyers. Which in M2, that's like a battleship. You can think of it as like a battleship. Some of those can hold ships too, like fighters, but they mainly are just big battleships. They are loaded up with the guns and with the shields and all that for battle, while the M1 is powerful. Don't get me wrong; it's not the same. It's on the same level, strictly in combat terms, as the M2 as far as just the ship itself, but it makes up for it for all the ships it can carry and take into battle in an organized fashion. So the M1 is like an aircraft carrier. M2 is like a battleship. M3, 4, and 5. Those are all fighters, but the M3 is a large fighter. M4 is a medium fighter, and M5 is a light fighter. Just in general, that's the way it really works out. Now, you always want to check out each ship's stats, separately. The speed, the acceleration, the steering, its shield, max shields, its energy put out for your guns, its cargo bay, all that stuff. But in general, it's large fighter, medium fighter, light fighter. M6, they're kind of like a Corvette class. Like I said, they were a newer class that came out.
Your cargo is secured before departure.
I believe came out during X3 Terran conflict. but they're bigger than, they're almost like a how do I want to say it, like a gunship. I think they call them corvettes, but they're more like a gunship. So it's kind of like a bigger, stronger ship than a fighter. And actually, I think there's even a couple of M6 models that can hold a fighter or two, and it kind of holds it like on the outside of the ship, like it's docked on the sides, on the outside. It's kind of cool looking. But so they're bigger than fighters, of course, and they're loaded with guns, but it's not like it's for big, powerful ships. It's to fight other corvettes and fighters. So it's more like a gun. I would call it like a gunship. M7. Those, I can't remember if it's M7s.
The Panther is the.
Then you got TLs. TLs, those are the biggest transports. Those are actually transports that can carry stations. If you see here, station containers, it can carry station containers, which 60,000 units. But you'll need these. You'll need a TL. If you want to build factories or complexes, they're the ones that can transport those items. Now you can rent those usually at the main core worlds. There's a TL flying around that you can just contact, and rent their services. They charge like per sector, like however many sectors they need to go through. That's how it determines the price. If you don't have enough money to buy your own TL ship, excuse me, because they can be expensive. They definitely can be expensive.
Please remember
You're talking about like
like
$20 million or something like that. So,
await your reading.
but that's what those are used for. Now, they also, because they're so big, I've even used these things before as kind of a mobile base in a way. Just like on this acclimator, you got 60,000 units of storage, and you can also put 5 ships on this sucker too. So like I would almost use them as a mobile base starting out until I really developed like complexes and that sort of thing. So that's another use of those TL ships. And then TP is a personnel transport. They're usually smaller with smaller cargo space. However, to use those to transport people, they only come into play if you're actually doing missions. It's one thing I haven't even talked about at all. But at stations, you'll see like little icons, like a light bulb icon, or like a target, red target icon, or a money icon. That means that there's a mission available there. You can just communicate. You don't have to dock. You just have to be within range to communicate with the station to accept those missions.
Ladies and gentlemen, station
Now,
administration would like
if
to
you do the
remind you to
missions,
keep children away from the airlines.
make sure that you can do it before you accept it, and make sure that you will do it and you have enough time to do it. Because if you accept the mission and you don't get it done within the time frame, or something wrong happens, you fail it, it will hurt your reputation with that race really big. That's one reason why I stay away from the missions. Now, on the flip side, though, when you complete a mission for a race, that will help your reputation and your relationship with that race. Now, the thing is the payouts on the missions, they're not worth it. It's actually some missions it will say go and like get a ship, pick up a ship, and fly it back here, like to point B. It is way, as far as your monetary value, it's usually better to keep the ship and just steal it, fail the mission.
Look, I got runner-up prize.
You won second place?
No, but I got it. Stealing is wrong.
And however, you'll take a huge reputation hit by doing this. but the monetary value of the ship that you're transporting is way more than what you'll make off these missions. So I usually don't do the missions. Now, if you're starting off like with maybe one of the fighter only starts to the game, missions may be something that you want to use, want to try to get started. But I've always really stayed away from them myself. I just don't think they're worth it. I think there's better ways anyway for me on getting started. So you can do missions though, but I just don't think they're worth it myself. One other thing too I wanted to talk about, and I failed to mention when I was talking about this map. When it says border, like security level border, I mentioned that if it's a border, it's going to be on close to the edge of the race's space. But as far as the security level, the border classification means there's not that many military ships to defend that sector. A core one, if it says core, the security is going to be heightened in that sector as far as that race's military ships being present there in that sector. So I just wanted to mention that real quick because it comes into play if you want to be a pirate, or if you're trying to run from danger, maybe trying to get somewhere safe using the NPC military ships to protect you. But anyways, I forgot to mention that yesterday when I was doing those first videos. And by the way, these are my first videos, so I do apologize. They're not as smooth as they could be. I'm learning. I'm having fun too, though, doing this, to be honest. And I've wanted to really show this mod off because I think it deserves it, and I think it's kind of like a niche, maybe a little bit, that I know for me as being a Star Wars fan, and being like a space sim gaming fan, it seems like the two just can't mix. It has not happened. I mean, since you're talking about Knights of the Old Republic days, really, since it was kind of like an open world, not necessarily RPG, but it could be RPG, but open world Star Wars good game where you're actually choosing and your choices have consequences, that type of deal. Man, okay, so anyways, getting back to the game, I wanted to show you kind of where I'm at and where I'm going to go. My plan, though, like I was started to mention about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, is that I'm going to strip and sell this V19 because it's an M5. M5 is a light fighter. It's not going to really help me out very much. I mean, it will look cool, like I would have it as a wingman, and it will follow me around and kind of looks cool. But I think it's going to benefit me more by selling it and getting about 400,000 for it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to upgrade the cargo space on the LAT, and continue trading because I need to continue to increase the positive relationships with the non-pirate, non-empire races, so that I can buy better transport ships, better fighters, and so forth. My plan is to buy a ARC. This Z95 that I'm in is a M4. It's a medium fighter. The ARC 170, that's the fighters that were in like the Clone Wars, the prequel movies. I'm going to get one of those. It's a M3, so it's a heavy fighter, but it still sticks with the Clone Wars vet playthrough storyline that I'm going with here, bringing out the old school fighter. But it is an M3, so it's going to be a lot better fighter. And with that fighter, I will feel a lot more confident going into areas like Omicron Lyrie, Treasure Chest. I think it's Circle of Labor right up here, which is a red war sector. And then it gets into Terran Empire territory after Circle of Labor. That's how close we are. But I would feel safer going in there, and either getting into some battles so I can show you guys some action, some of the fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
So I know that's exciting for all of us, really. But with this type of game, I've got to build up the economic side to be able to support the war machine. So this is kind of like the grindy starting out part. Anyways, I just wanted to show you guys where I'm at and let you guys know what I'm going to be doing here. I'm probably going to start recording when I'm just kind of going through the flow. If it's because I'm going to continue exploring, and I think there's 3 more sectors up here, 3 over here, and then I can start getting into the Boron space and then the Alliance space. And this edge of the galaxy is the safest part of the galaxy. I can get all those explored, all those satellites placed, and then that's usually where I start my sector and universal traders, and that's when you start really making money. When you get those traders automatically working for you, and you don't have to do anything. That's when you start raking in the money that can support losing ships in battle. So, but when I start, it won't be very long. But once I start dropping those satellites and keep moving and exploring this way, I'm going to record again just so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Again, it's not very exciting. It's kind of tedious, but especially for you, for those that are new to the game, at least kind of see how you can do it. It's pretty simple though. And I get to show off the sectors in the game, and that's also what I want to do. So, all right, cool. Thank you.